I have had a difficult time starting this one. I can't say the word tutorial. This is the this is the tutorial movie for Guide 4. I don't know why, maybe it just doesn't want me to do the tutorial movie. But anyway, here is the finished example for the tutorial movie Guide 4. I call it the Viper Prep Art. I would like to show you a problem that might occur at the end of your file. So remember to go back to the beginning when you get to the end. Whatever. Look up on the layer palette here how I have a glass art layer. That's going to be a duplicate of the car art layer, but some of you will actually incorrectly leave the glass art layer radio button selected when you go to add the effect of the glass. Now I'm going to simulate that by, look over here how I'm dragging the gray up to the parent layer, and that is going to glass effect everything on the layer, which is the clipping mask and the image. You want the image, but not the clipping mask. So when I get to that point, take note of when I actually click on the radio button for the image and then add the glass effect. Don't undo anything to fix it. Watch how you can just grab the gray from the parent layer of the glass art and drag it down to the image, and then everything will be just fine. So this is the final result. The final result is you have a car art layer and you have a duplicate of it that you're going to rename glass art, and you're going to turn it into glass, add a clipping mask, and then just show both together. Okay, so let's redo it. The PDF file is absolutely correct, and I'm going to sneeze in a minute. Excuse me. I'm going to leave that one on screen too, since this is just that kind of movie, whatever. And I'm just going to go ahead. Look at the Viper Prep Art number 1 and page 1, and it's the tutorial for it. I'm going to go through, and I've condensed it down to 2 pages from my previous 4, which I think at this stage of the game in Illustrator you people should be able to know some things when I ask you to go to them. So as I do this movie, just kind of watch for that. As you get to the final aspect of this, you will note that I have just designated the layer palettes, and to keep an eye on the layer palette, my point is keep the layer palette open at all times and expand it when you need to. Actually expand it all the time, because the layer palette is essential, I believe, to success in Illustrator. So let's go back to the beginning, and I'm going to start, of course, with step 1. Now I've got this pretty much memorized because I did it in the first place. This is an original art I did for a client that I wanted you to see how to compress it into one layer, add the effect, and then go forward. I used their colors that they gave me, so you'll notice that if I do bring up the swatches palette, that there are only 4 swatches in the swatches palette because they are spot colors. Now you're going to start with what you see on screen here with an uncompressed, ungrouped set of layers. Now I'm not going to go back to this, and I don't think I should have to, so just go through this as you need to, and use my movie as a backup, my tutorial movie. So let me not minimize it, I'll just keep it on screen, but just put it back there. And let me go to the beginning of this, which is the Viper Prep Art. You open it up, and this is what you get. You get something that has 4 colors, actually 3 spot colors and black and white. A whole set of layers that I have done here, and I'll just turn a couple things on and off so you can see that that was my tracing layer. If I hold the command key, the option key, and click on the visibility button, you can see how it turns everything off but that. Okay, now the reason I wanted you to do that is because option clicking on either the visibility or the lock unlocks or locks everything, and unless you've previously locked it up via another manner. And I'm going to show you a couple of things here. Okay, so as I go turn this off and I bring things back up on screen, you can see, and it's kind of a neat way to see how an artist works. If you start the visibility from the bottom up, you can see how I build everything on top of, and there is my solid value for the car. And just experiment with this to see how a piece of artwork is actually made for a client to get to the final product, which is whatever you're doing. That was dumb to say, but to get to the final car art, you always start with a good piece of reference, which I have included in this as my Viper TIFF, and I want you to eliminate it for this process. So to begin the file, and that's kind of fun. If I were you, I would, with me, whenever I was given something from another artist, I just researched it to the nth degree to see how it was done. Therefore, it gave me a really good insight as to how to do something, and get close on things. See how I interpolated shapes. See how I took the shapes that were given here on the bottom. I'm sorry, see how I was given these shapes on the bottom here, especially in the tire, and see how I actually transformed them. See how I interpreted them to my artwork. In other words, there's my tire layer, and here are my wheel layer. So take apart the wheel layer. See how I actually did it. All right, I'll get on with the story here. Let me option click on the lock button, on the visibility button again. Okay, this starts out by saying create one layer of this. So hold the option key or drag to unlock everything. You can hold the option key and click on one. All right, that's good. Now it says to go Command A to select all. All right, actually, let me click away. It says at this point, throw away the tracing layer because you don't need it. I just wanted you to have it so you can see how an artist works. All right. Now I'm going to go Command A to select all, assuming that everything is actually selected. It is not. And everything is actually selected because everything is unlocked. It isn't. And I don't want you to assume when you're given artwork from somebody else that if you want to group it for whatever reason that it's unlocked. So as it's selected with Command A or select all, go to Object Unlock, and if that's blackened, then it means that the artist locked it up via another manner, which is to go to Object Lock Selection, Command 2. But I'm going to unlock all, and now I am positive that item I purposely left locked in this manner, so you would see that just because a lock button isn't there or isn't showing doesn't mean that something else isn't totally locked. All right. Now I go Command A to select all, and it tells you to click up to the logos layer and hit Command G. Now watch how all of these go compress themselves, group themselves into the logos layer. Then I tell you to shift click on all the items, on all the layers, pick it up and throw it away. Double click the logo layer and name it Car Art. I don't ever add spaces because I'm used to dealing in an animation program and in a nonlinear editor. Spaces aren't liked by certain programs, so I just get students used to that right away. Now that I've named this Car Art, I'm not going to save this file, and you should right now rename this whatever you want. In my classroom, my students name it first name, last name, Guide 4. Now that it's like this, your job is to open this up and see the word group. All right, that's cool because now you can see that I can turn off the visibility for the word group. Obviously, all of those shapes are part of my art. You wouldn't want to go in there and decipher it yet, but this artwork here that I'm doing now isn't for the purpose of drawing. You saw all my layers before, and that's the proper way to organize something. But let's go into now, take this and hit the M key. You know what the M key stands for. It stands for rectangle. And let's just make a rectangle of whatever desire you want, whatever height or whatever you want. Make it encompass the whole shape. Now click a default gradient like I had here. Notice you can't see the car. So take the path, that's what it's called, an object or a path, and move it below in the layer palette so now you can see the car. I'll turn off the group so we can just play with this. I turned off the visibility. I'm going to hit the G key, and I'm going to direct, holding the Shift key and starting my drag from down to up to put this more in a sky tone. Now I'm going to grab the blue from the swatches palette and drop it into the background, into the gradient, into the black swatch on the gradient. Now I don't care if you want to take and do a fast blend like this or a slow blend. That's up to you. Have some fun with this if you want to. Now turn on the background and you can see how you have a little bit more of an atmosphere around your tutorial car. And now let's take the car art layer and duplicate it. Right now I could collapse the triangle for it, bring the car art layer down to the new layer icon. In my handout I say double click it and name it glass art. Now to see what things are happening on this, turn off the visibility for the car art until the end of the file, because obviously you just have a copy of one over the other. All right. Now what I want you to do is expand out the glass art layer. Make sure you click. I want both the group and the rectangle, which is your background, your sky, and I want to make sure they get rasterized. Now I'm going to click the radial button for the parent layer, for the glass art. Do not use Effect Rasterize. What that does is it rasterizes each individual object or shape, which is not what we want. We want to create one image here, all right, and make the file more memory efficient. Again, this would actually do each shape separately, which is not a good thing at this point. So don't do that. Go to Object, rasterize, which takes one snapshot of everything. I tell you to go to medium, 150 ppi, and click OK. And now in a couple of seconds you have an image that appears right there. So it's no longer vector, it's actually turned into raster pixels. Okay, that's cool, and that's the way I want it. Now, what we need to do now is to clip half the image out. All right, I could turn it into glass now, or I could just clip it out. Now I'm going to start on the bottom with an M key rectangle, and I'm going to draw a rectangle encompassing about half the image. It's not like, I'm not going to measure anything. Now that I have this there, I want you to see how I have a path and an image in my layer palette. I'm going to shift click on both. Now that I have shift clicked on both, it doesn't matter that this has a gradient. When you turn something into a clipping mask, it removes the fill and the stroke from the top item and just lets it be a frame, an unseen frame, until you do something with it, which we are going to do. So I'm going to go to Object, Clipping Mask Make, which is Command 7. So I'm going to go out of this and hit Command 7 on my keyboard, and now I have made a new group, if you see it in the glass art layer. If I go into that, I have a separate clipping mask, which you can see, and a separate, look at how I click on the radio button for the image and it shows the full image, or I can click on the clipping mask. Now I'm going to click on the image alone. You remember that thing I told you about at the start of this file? How if you click and add the glass effect, if you click on the parent layer, all the stuff in the layer, all the items in the layer will get the glass effect. I'm going to click on the image only, and I'm going to go to Effect, Distort Glass, and I'm going to leave the defaults alone, and I'm going to say OK on the glass. Now it's actually put a glass on the image. It's made like a ripple effect, like you're looking through textured glass. I'm going to click on and look at the gray that now appeared here. Now I would like to say something that is not in either handout or in my previous movies. When you add gray to an image, it means that you've added an effect to something. An effect is called a style or an appearance, and if you want to remove the style or the appearance, you go to Window, you go down to Appearance, and I'll bring the Appearance menu right over in front of here, and you clear the appearance. Do you see where it says in Appearance a glass was added? I'm going to go over here and clear the appearance, which means in effect, that was funny, which means to remove the effect, or in effect to remove the effect. So I'm going to clear the appearance. It's now back to normal, and I could proceed. Now that's especially if you've saved the file, closed it, and reopened it, and you can't undo it. But I'm going to Command Z back because I like the glass effect. So now you know what the word appearance means, and now you know, hopefully you remember, that in a layer palette, when you see gray on a radio button, it means that an effect has been added, or an appearance, or something that is different, like a transparency or something. Okay, it doesn't necessarily have to only be an effect. Now that I have done this, I want to click on the clipping mask, which now is not clicked on the image. I'm selected that. I'm going to make my stroke red, so I bring the stroke to the front and I make it red. I'm now going to make it 6 or 7 points, whatever I determine is cool, and that's fine. You are actually done with the file, all right? And now if I click away from it and I turn the car art layer on, you can see how if I look at that, it looks like somebody held a piece of glass up in front of my image, knowing that now they are two separate images. You have a glass effect and you have the original car effect. So I could turn this on, and you can see how I can just go like that, which is turning the visibility on and off. Really research out. Use this file to look and see how the car is done. I hope you would have done that anyway to see and break it down, because I know that learning by emulation is the best way to learn. And then being able to review these tutorials is a great, I said the word right, is a great way to learn. Hope you enjoyed this one. Go on to guide number 5, which is the greatest tool that I love, which is the transform tool, along with the next, my most favorite tool is the gradient mesh. But I love the ability that the transform tool has. I'll see you in guide 5.